Alright, Spartan Collection fans, this is our second non-Spartan released in the Spartan Collection, Jega Rdomnai, I think that's how you pronounce it, or Blade Master Spartan Killer. I picked this up from Amazon. It was $34.99, just like Arbiter. I will have the link in the description below. This does have a Target link, however, it has not gone live. It has just stayed out of stock or really not in stock. He comes with the Pulse Carbine, Ghost Pierce Energy Blade, Blood Blade Energy Sword, and then the additional hands. I'm actually pretty excited for this entire wave. I think it's the best one that they have done. So we have Frederick, Master Chief from Halo 3. We have Alice, so it does seem like we will be getting our entire red team. And we have Spartan Yokai. Out of all the figures released in Series 7, I am most excited for Spartan Yokai. I think this just is an awesome looking Spartan. I love the armor pieces, just the color scheme, and then the samurai swords. So far, none of these figures have been found in-store or online, but it is just a matter of time since we do have Jega here. I do hope that they come with the updated knees. This wave is too good not to have them. Before we move on, I want to take a closer look at this side illustration of Jega. This updated packaging looks really good, super sleek. You can see the little glossy materials, and this is just a great illustration of Jega. And finally, here is the barcode and DPCI to help you find this in Target if this does end up hitting Target stores. Here he is out of the packaging. This figure is intense. He is super tall, very well constructed. He's not as heavy or bulky as I would say Arbiter is, so that's pretty good because it doesn't put as much pressure on that torso joint. One of the biggest disappointments in the game would be just the lack of screen time we received with this character. I mean, being Blade Master and Spartan Killer and all these things, and just an intimidating, character. He's got two blades, and so I hope that 343 gives us more backstory on this character. Why, he's in the position he is, what happened to his arm there. They could do a whole game or just side story or DLC, of just this character alone. I mean, he's just too cool to only have 3 cutscenes, and then just a boss mode with him. Here we'll do a close-up of Jega. You can see the nice color tones. This is one thing I do like about the Spartan Collection is the amount of paint applications on the figure. His teeth are actually painted, which is awesome. Very happy about that. You can see just the red tones that highlight throughout the armor. You can see just the metal arm and just the different sculpt throughout that. Just the highlights and contrast on the blade. If you do a close-up of his left-hand side, you can see the battle damage to his armor. Looks really good. Great detail. Glad that they added that. Moving from the torso down to the hips and legs, great sculpt. They never miss. They do a great job. You see just more of the little weathering throughout, and it's more prominent around the feet. Looks great. Love the little spikes. Awesome job. His back gets the same treatment. A little less weathering back here, but that's not a huge deal. We could just apply a black wash. Looks good. Moving all the way down to his calves and to his feet. He does come with 5 additional hands, which give him more personality, 2 of which are his left robotic hand. We have 3 of his normal right hand, 1 to grab the back of Pilot's head, 1 to flip off Master Chief, and then 1 to hold the Pulse Carbine. Which I do think is interesting that he comes with the Pulse Carbine since we don't really see him use it. And from what I see so far, I don't think these blades are removable, but we'll figure it out. We'll see what it can do. And for those of you wondering, this Pulse Carbine is that softer type of plastic. I mean, you can bend it, but it is pretty stiff. It's nothing like the World of Halo where it's super flexible. So I like that. I don't like it where it's super flimsy and you can, just bend it within the figure's, hands and stuff like that. So I like this construction on it. Here's a close-up of the Ghost Pierce. Looks great. I like the colors they use within the blade to make it look like it is glowing. It is a sturdier type of plastic. I would say it's sturdier than Arbiter's, which I do like. Unfortunately, the blades on this left arm are not removable, which is a bummer. Something that I wish this would have had so I can do some cool dynamic poses without having at least one, arm activated. It's not a deal breaker for me, but it is something that I would have liked to have had. They are just molded to this metal forearm piece. And that just leaves us with the Blood Blade. Names like Ghost Pierce and Blood Blade for a weapon on a character are too awesome to not have more screen time than he had. The Blood Blade is very well constructed. It does have more orange paint on the blade as opposed to the Ghost Pierce. It is a softer plastic, but it is a lot sturdier than the other energy swords that we have seen, and it does have a black grip. And when I say better constructed, I mean, here's a comparison next to the Yori energy sword. And it's just a bigger, taller, better constructed blade, and I would say this is more in scale than what the Yori one looks like. I mean, this just looks so small and puny. The Yori energy sword is also a lot softer, so I mean, look how much it like flexes when you bend it, whereas the Blood Blade is just a stiffer piece of plastic, better constructed. Really well done. So we'll take a look at his different hands. That was obviously the sword holding hand. Here is the pulse carbine holding hand. Now, he holds it well, but he can't hold it with two arms just because there's no swivel here at like this bicep, and then just because these blades are not removable, it makes it really difficult for him to hold it with two hands. But I wouldn't really have him holding it anyways. He would just be using both swords. Next is a slightly closed grip hand. Now all of these are on a swivel, and then it's just on a peg, so all you have to do is just pop it out and it'll place it right inside the wrist. Next is a hand that is slightly closed, not 100% all the way. It's more open than anything else. Maybe more of like a directional or like empowering type of hand. For his left arm, he has two extra hands. So this is the one that it comes with. We'll take this guy off. And the first one is like kind of like a directional hand, or maybe like a like come over here type of hand or something like that to show maybe kind of like dominance. The last one is more of an open palm look. It is on a hinge and swivel as well, and we can spin it all the way around. So now let's move into articulation, starting with the head. I believe they designed this better than Arbiter. So there's two neck pieces here. So I believe this bottom one is on a ball and socket, so I can move it from side to side, just this part there, and then I can also flex just that bottom part forwards and backwards. It's not a crazy amount of range of motion, but it is enough to make a difference. So from there at the head, there's another ball joint, so that'll give him more range of motion and just better poseability and make him look more lifelike, so he can do more turning from side to side type of thing. And again, I'm very happy that they painted the mouth. I know it's just a small thing, but it makes a difference to me. And then on the inside, you can see the details in the inner part of the jaw armor pieces. Shoulders are on a hinge and swivel joint, so we can bring the left arm up about that high before the armor piece gets in the way. Just below the shoulder at the top of the bicep, we have another swivel, so we can spin that around. One of the things that I wish this did have was going to be a swivel here at the blade, so that will give him more like dynamic poses there. So he can't, turn it this way, and it's going to make it really difficult for him to hold that pulse carbine, even though we're not really going to be doing that, but it would still be really nice to have one there. And then at the elbow, we have a hinge joint, and we can move this up and down. That'll also give him a better range of motion too if he did have that swivel there, but you can kind of move the blade behind the actual bicep, and that'll make him flex it a little bit easier. At the right arm, you're going to have more limited range of motion just because this shoulder piece is just so big and bulky, but that's kind of his design. So it is, again, on a hinge and swivel, and then the upper part of the bicep does have a swivel. You can still maneuver him and make him do some great poses, but you're not going to have quite as much as the left arm. He does have double joints at this elbow, but he can only bend about 90 degrees just because he has larger armor pieces there, whereas the left arm, it's just a robotic type of arm, and there's no big bulky armor pieces, and it is only a single joint. I have seen people cut into the bicep or parts of the armor to give it a bit more range of motion, but every collector's a little bit different. Some don't like to do it, some do. Both wrists are on a hinge and a swivel, so we can bend this and flex it forward, and then we can also spin it around. The torso does have a limited range of motion, just the nature of these armor pieces, but you can flex it a little bit forwards and backwards. Not a crazy amount, but I guess enough to get the job done, and then we have some slight rotation from side to side. The hips are on ball joints, so we have a great range of motion with that. We can bring them up and around. We can probably spin this all the way around. Yep. And then top of the thigh, we have a swivel, something that we've already seen with the World of Halo and the Spartan collection. So far, the joints on this figure are fantastic, very stiff, and I love that. Please keep that going, especially with these larger scaled figures. You're going to need as stiff of a joint as possible, but this looks and feels really good. Top of the knee, we have a hinge. We can bring that forward, and we should also have a swivel, so we can move it as much as that knee armor will allow us to, and we can flex that forward. The ankle is the same type of thing. We have a swivel there, and we should be able to spin that around, and then we have some flexion moving forward, and then a little bit going backwards. From the ankle to the foot, it is on a hinge and swivel as well, so we can flex that back, flex it forward, and we can probably spin it all the way around. And finally, individual toe articulation. They are on a pin, so you can flex them backwards and then also bring them forward. Something that we saw with Arbiter, and it's just a great feature to have. You can like have him standing on a body and just like digging into like the torso or something like that. Super cool. Now let's do some measurements. Halopedia has him ranked at almost 7.5 feet tall. So standing him as like tall as I naturally can get him, he looks like he is about, man, 9 3/4 inches tall, which is freaking insane. I think that's the tallest Spartan Collection figure we have now. Here's a comparison with our deluxe Arbiter. Arbiter is supposed to be like 7 feet 10 inches, and so he's supposed to be taller than Jega, but clearly you can see within the Spartan Collection, he is much smaller than Jega. I mean, it's crazy. It's probably by a good 2-3 inches that he is actually smaller than Jega. And here is our Series 1/2 Halo Infinite Master Chief standing next to Jega, and he just looks so small compared to him. So he's not in scale with them, which it's not a huge deal to me. I mean, it's for the most part close-ish enough. If I bend his knees and shrunk him down a little bit, then he'll look more at his appropriate height. As an added bonus, this is the 1,000 Toys Master Chief, which I picked up from GameStop when they had that awesome deal, and he's just dwarfs compared to Jega. Next, we'll do a comparison of our two World of Halo figures. We have our Halo Infinite Chief and Jega standing next to our deluxe Spartan Collection Jega. Before we wrap up, I did want to see if this energy sword would fit in a Spartan who would previously hold one, and it fits great. I think this is definitely a better scale and proportion of the energy sword. Now, Yori, he can hold on to it. His hands are maybe a little bit smaller for the hilt, but you can make it work, and I think it looks really good. Before we wrap up, I do want to show you something, and I know it's kind of frowned upon by toy manufacturers to showcase another toy within a review video, but I think this is important. So we have our two figures here, supposed to be within a 1/12 scale or a 6-inch figure line. Jega, $34.99, comes with 3 weapons and 5 interchangeable hands, standing at a whopping 9 3/4 inches tall. This is the Dark Trooper, Hasbro Black Series. $31.49, comes with 2 little fire effects, interchangeable hands, and a blaster. Unfortunately, the prices of toys have increased, but I want to show you the value that you get with this Spartan Collection Deluxe figure compared to another figure that is supposed to be within the same realm. I'm going to leave that there, and I'll let y'all mull it over and think about it. Alright everyone, that wraps up this review and unboxing of the new Spartan Collection Deluxe Jega figure by Jazwares. Price point $34.99. Right now, it can only be found on Amazon. I will have the links in the description below. It's on the Target app, but it has never gone in stock. Neither have the other Spartan Collection figures, so I'm assuming that if it does hit Target, it will most likely be in-store only. My final thoughts on Jega. It is almost a perfect figure. There are some areas I would have liked to have seen differently to make it more functional. For example, swivels at the lower portion of the arms. That will give us better range of motion and better dynamic poses. I do wish you could remove the blades at the left arm. At the right shoulder, there is not as much range of motion, but that's due to the big bulky armor pieces. Maybe if there was a butterfly joint there, we would get more range of motion, but it's not as much as I would like it to be, but you can still get some good poses from it. Areas they have definitely improved are going to be at the neck. There is more range of motion, so you can do more of a turning and side-to-side motion. At the weapons, they are sturdier, better plastic, and this is a bigger energy sword. He is a bigger figure, so it should be, and I think this is more into scale with the rest of our Spartan Collection figures. He does come with the pulse carbine, which we don't really need. We don't really see him use it, and he can't hold it with both hands, so he would just basically be holding it with one arm and shooting it into the sky like a madman. They have definitely improved the tightness of the joints on this figure. He's not so much top heavy, so his torso isn't going to flop forward as much, even though there isn't quite as much range of motion, but it is still nice to have a snug, tight torso as well as the rest of the joints. The wrists are particularly tight, which I do like that, so they're not going to be falling forwards or backwards. He does come with the 5 additional hands, and he does hold that energy sword nice and snug. No risk of it falling out, and he is just an enormous figure, standing at 9 3/4 inches tall. A home run, and I think a great one to add to your collection. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, where I do toy photography, toy videos, toy hunts, and all things toy related. Link in the description below. Once I find the rest of the figures in Wave 7, I will definitely be reviewing them. Alright, be sure to like and subscribe. It is free, and I'll see y'all in the next video.